Hi, I am Jessica Ardeal here with Lynn Misch. Hi, Lynn.
Hi,
Welcome
Jess.
to Own Your Healthcare. And we are here presenting an opportunity for connection. Connection is currency, that currency and electricity running through your body here. We want to energize you, amp you up, get you involved here in your own feel good, high vibe energy. And today, Lynn, I really appreciate you taking the time. I know you're busy with teaching and there's so much that you multitask on. So thank you again for dedicating some time of your day to connect with us and myself here. I really appreciate you and the energy that you bring. And today we just want to check in and see what perhaps you may have defined your healthcare as. What does owning your healthcare mean to you? Hold that definition in mind or continue to formulate and work on it and know that it can evolve. So there's no official landing place, but let's land somewhere. We'll take off. We're building the plane mid-flight here. We're putting everything together as we go because life is spontaneous. We don't know what's going to happen as we go, but we want you to have the tools and resources and the skills and knowledge so that you can have your own power to get you through whatever turbulence may be coming up for you. I don't know why I'm using airplane modes here, but Lynn, hi, how are you?
I'm great. I'm really happy to see you, and I'm happy to connect with the. Actually, this is a project that we've been on and off working on for a long time, and to see it really blossom into reality, and it's fun, it's exciting to have the opportunity to work with you. And is delightful for me because this has been evolving since probably 2006, since I originally met you, and how it's gone through different stages and development as far as where we are in um, the the plane taking off, right? Because it's actually, or a hot air balloon, right, at another level. But anyway, but that plane taking off and really creating a platform uh, for others to verbalize and to voice their thoughts and their opinions and concerns, and to help others make choices about where opportunities may avail them for them, that they can make choices about choosing to have their own health and have better outcomes. And that can happen at wherever you are, at whatever level you're at. I mean, it can happen when you're birthing a baby, right? Or if you're in the stages of, I think, even in the last stages of life as we're evolving into the next transition, whatever your belief systems are. But I think it's important to identify what is important in the aspects of making choices about having good outcomes daily. And that's part of what we're bringing to the table or offering, is what are the tools that we can help you to use so that you can make choices at whatever level you're at. And the amazing thing, I think, in my nursing education and practice is that when you're going through the educational process, you're literally looking at life to death. You're looking at all those different stages of development. You're looking at all those different stages of how the human being exists and moves through and develops into different stages of their life. I mean, there's different theorists that have worked on, why do people do what they do? What stage have they gotten through to either be successful or not, to get to different levels of development. They have finally, I think it's interesting because since I've gone to school, they have started to understand that when I went to school and they talked about the neurological system and they really worked on nerve cells, and they said that nerve cells didn't regenerate. And now it's interesting because there's a whole new area called neuroplasticity where they're starting to understand that nerve cells do regenerate and so does your brain. And so it's kind of interesting, as well as your cells. And so there's, all kinds of different areas of research that are coming out in the world about, can we really change what our bodies are doing? Can we really influence our bodies through the thoughts that we have and the feelings that we have. And, those are the different, I think, connections that we're going to help people to make, that the feelings that you have are okay, and maybe they need to be more clearly understood. And that they do connect to this body and they do influence this body, and how do I deal with those, different events that have happened in my life that may be joyful or catastrophic, and that happens on, at any time, as we can see the events of the world unfolding before us, and it's shifting a lot, just the gender identity and all the different things that are occurring in our, and I'm not going to get on a political platform at all, but, just the ability to be able to own your own health and the importance in making the choices about where do you fall in all of this? What does make you comfortable in your own self? How do we identify and not place a judgment on that, just to help you identify and be more comfortable in your own existence and finding the tools to be able to utilize. It's like even the different aspects of having emotional identity, that's becoming a part, even in the workplace in today's world, that, it's emotional intelligence is becoming a really important process in making choices about, even when you're working, that you need to be sensitive to the other people around you and having an emotional IQ, right? How important is that? And how much was that dismissed for a long period of time? So anyway, back to you, Jess. What do you think?
I'm curious your thoughts, Lynn, on the time delay, if you will, on the results of studies, right? Oftentimes we have to wait decades for the results to accumulate. How can we empower our daily choices now without waiting for this study to confirm what we might already intuitively know on an internal level? And do you have any thoughts on that?
That's a really great question, because I think studies are interesting. It's like, even when you look at, pharmaceutical studies, it takes, years for a product to come to the marketplace. You've got 10 or 12 years of research before that drug becomes first line, and there's, or even longer. And it goes through a series of trials and steps and all these different things. I think that, and you captured a really important point when you talked about the intuitiveness of listening to your own self, and how we need to remain sensitive to that, because oftentimes that intuition, it's like, I talk to nursing students, we call it the nursing's intuition, but it's a lot of it's experience, right? You're walking into a room, and I can walk into a room and sense what's going on with a patient within seconds of walking into a room, if we're in, whatever situation we're in, not always identifying it exactly, but I have a pretty good idea of what's happening. But then I need to get their story as well, depending on the circumstances that I'm meeting. But I think the whole, process of you talking about listening to your intuition, listening to your gut, gosh, there's an element of truth in that. And yes, the research, and the other thing about research that's interesting is that there's all different kinds of research on all different areas. Research is good. I mean, you can follow the research, you can find it. It's like looking at cardiovascular health, which I've studied for years. And one of the intriguing things that I think about cardiovascular health is that oftentimes they put you on a statin, right? To control cholesterol. They identify the different numbers, HDL being the heroes, LDL being the losers, and understanding that your diet and exercise, genetics, all those kinds of things play a role in that. But the other thing that they didn't bother to tell you with the studies is that when you, a lot of times what will happen, and you put someone on a statin to help stabilize that arterial disease, that cardiovascular disease, and the other thing that'll happen is people develop muscle aches. And what does that come from? It comes from a depletion of CoQ10 in the body. Well, they knew that when they developed the medication, they knew that there was a depletion, and CoQ10 is one of those necessary ingredients that causes a response in the energetic levels in the body. And when it becomes depleted, it causes cramping, it causes muscle pain. And so I think that it's advancing that awareness, not to say that you shouldn't take it, but to say that you need to be smart about the decisions that you're making, and there's other things that we need to be aware of in the research that oftentimes it's not shared because there may not be the educational process in that whole, delivery of that message. So I think it's those particular parts. And again, a lot of that, I think, is that when you get a diagnosis, there's an element of fear that kind of confuddles the system, that we become afraid of that diagnosis, right? That it becomes scary that all of a sudden we've been handed this diagnosis that we really don't understand, and it's influencing us, and how can we connect to that or make a difference? What do you think, Jess? Did I answer your question? I hope I did.
Yeah, I just wanted to know your thoughts on it, right? I mean, obviously research is research because it's valid. And it does take that time to develop it. And so what can we do for real-time research? And I think that brings back to one of the courses we met at, is the body can give us feedback, immediate feedback of to what it needs. And it's going to change even moment to moment, right? It can change in a day. And I'm not referring to major chronic long-term infections or diagnosis, but in our working towards stabilizing a healthy lifestyle, there's a lot to consider. So where do we start, right? Is it with the thoughts? Is it with the mental health? Is it with, like, what else do we need to be aware of to make it work? And when does the point get, okay, enough, let me just live and let life take care of me, right?
That's a choice, right? Those are choices that people make. I mean, I have talked with patients where you walk in a room and you want to give them the education, you want to do things with them, and they don't want to hear it, right? They've had enough. They don't want to know until a procedure happens or something happens. That's a choice. Again, we're back to making choices and back to the research. I can remember listening to a lecture a number of years ago when I had students at a lecture, and it was involving the changes in how we would incorporate healthy lifestyles into communities, because we've become like more walking paths and more biking paths and more accessibility to exercise, so that we can become healthier, because we've become so sedentary and driving automobiles and things like that. But it was interesting because I can remember the lecturer, who was actually from the Institute of Health, and he talked about, and I can't remember his name because it's a number of years ago, but he talked about the number of years it takes for research to actually be implemented into practice. And it takes a number of years, and research is ongoing, so it can influence and change. I mean, I've seen changes come in research over the years. I can remember when they looked at cardiovascular health, and they looked at women, and they looked at disease, arterial disease. And there was a point when they finally decided, because when you have plaque formation or cholesterol formation in the vessels, that, I can remember first learning about it. I always thought it was like a really solid kind of material. It's not, it's like a fat, and it's very flexible. And when you take a statin, what you're doing is you're stabilizing that plaque formation. You're giving it so it can't be disrupted as easily by the blood flow that goes through, because it's kind of, and I'm not going to go into that whole process. That's a whole educational piece. But I think it was interesting when they looked at and decided that when somebody had arterial disease that was 50%, as far as in an arterial, in the heart's vessels, because the heart has its own arterial supply, that they were at great risk, because that could be as dangerous as somebody who was 90% occluded. And how that changed, and how at one point in time we had everybody on vitamin E, and because it helped with heart disease. Well, then they took everybody off of vitamin E, because they found out that vitamin E released free radicals. But the problem that they didn't solve is that when you looked at nutrition, you need to have all the different components of the different nutrients, A, B, C, D, E. They all have a role in the relationship with each other. and they need to work together because of those exchanges that they make with protons and how they work. So when you give just vitamin E alone, what happens is it cleaves off that proton and it becomes a free radical. And so it creates disease in the body rather than adjusting it and putting someone on the total vitamin complex. They eliminated the vitamin E, and that was through research. So it's changed. It's like fats. When you look at fats in the body, and they looked at when you had cardiovascular disease, it took everybody off. You had a no-fat diet. Well, then they figured out, well, that's not the best thing to do because you need essential fats. Your brain functions on fats. Your brain is fat, right? So then, I mean, it's been years of evolution. So back to your comment about really listening to your body, and your body's going to try and tell you, it's going to give you different signals about something may be wrong and to pay attention to it. And that's the hardest thing, is to really key into when is it important for me to listen and when am I like maybe scaring myself about what it's trying to tell me, right? Because that can happen too, right? And then you go into denial. So, I mean, we've all done that. I've done that. So I understand that, and I've had patients do that. I had a brother that did that and had a major heart attack, and I lost him because and that was a long story because he had multiple surgeries as a kid. So I think he didn't present because he was afraid to go to the hospital. So he had issues and he didn't address them. And there's no wrong in that. It's just, it is what it is. But it's hopefully what we'll do is give the people that are involved in Own Your Healthcare the opportunity to make choices about where they are, wherever that is. And that's okay.
Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I really do look forward to the Own Your Healthcare Masterclass and look forward to seeing you there too. Is there anything else you want to share before we go?
No, I think that's enough for now. I think it's just the importance of, the importance of, I like little snippets of things. I think that's, you got to digest things, right? The digestive process is really important, but I think you have to digest information and so you can make a choice. Is this something that's going to benefit you or not? And so that's part of why these different videos are being released, so that you can meet us, and decide if you want to engage with us or not, and that's fine. We want to invite you because I think we're going to have fun together. And it really is about, the opportunity to learn and grow together. So it's about choices. So it's just an invitation. It's an invitation. And we hope that you do join because I think we're going to have fun. And I love meeting new people and working with people. So.
And no matter what you choose to do, please do choose to own your healthcare, whatever that means to you. Decide today, and we'll see you on our way. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.